Hello, and welcome. I am so excited for this opportunity to be on Get Vocal and launching this new show called Breakdowns and Breakthroughs. My name is Camy Kennedy, and I am your host, mindset and life coach to perfectionists and high achievers. And I'm loving this setup, and I'm excited to learn how it's working and to see people as they come on. But the first thing, since this is my first show, I wanted to have you get to know me a little bit more because I think it's important to know who's coming to you. This show is actually going to be called, The Biggest Breakdown of 2020, which may be a little bit different take for you. And I want to address some triggers as well, because that was what was coming through for me today. But I wanted you to get to know me a little bit because I know when we see people on Instagram, Facebook, anywhere, we have a tendency to make a judgment, just like on who they are, what they're all about. I do it. We all do it, right? And so I think a lot of times I can get lost in the noise of a basic white girl. So I wanted to tell you a few things about me that may just shed a different light on who you may think I am just by looking at my Instagram, my Facebook, my website, all the pretty colors and all of that, right? So I grew up in small town Pennsylvania. Mom and dad were divorced, so I spent my summers in Idaho. And so I grew up as a tomboy, really down in the dirt, catching snakes in buckets, catching frogs at the pond, going fishing, shooting guns, camping, all of those things. So that's kind of how I grew up. I also grew up, I was a good kid. I got really good grades. I was an athlete. But I hung out with the bad kids, and I was considered I was like a secret bad kid where I'd go and do the parties in high school and get involved with the wrong crowd. So it's very interesting when people hear my story, they're completely shocked because I used to date somebody in high school that sold heroin. I have smoked a lot of things in my life. So I definitely, looking at me now, you probably wouldn't think that. And I expose a lot more and I go a lot deeper in my stories when we're in a close-knit group, a coaching group. So if you want to know more about me, come into my Powerhouse on Purpose Academy, where I share a lot more about myself because I know it's going to help serve you and move you forward. So that's the first thing. Just a little bit about me, my background. I'd love it if you're jumping on to let me know a little bit about you, maybe something that somebody doesn't know about you. And this weekend, I was supposed to go to Tony Robbins. And if you don't know who Tony Robbins is, please go and look up I'm Not Your Guru on Netflix. I cried when I watched this. I've been listening to Tony Robbins for maybe 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. I don't remember the first time I started listening to him, but I do remember listening to him every day, every morning for about 2, 3, 4 years while I was becoming a morning person. So that's another thing about me. I grew up very not nice. I was kind of bullied by some family situations, which made me a bully in high school. So I was rough. I was tumble. I had one friend. I didn't let anybody get close to me. And that's how I got into coaching, actually, is because I saw my life. I saw that it wasn't working and I wasn't a morning person. And so I saw all these things that I could change, and I knew I had the power within. So that's why I started listening to Tony Robbins, because he's basically the master, the inventor, the creator of the coaching industry. And he has an event called Unleash the Power Within. And I was all slated to go to that on actually next week. I was supposed to leave and fly to Dallas next week to go to that event. And unfortunately, they were going to take all the necessary precautions. They were going to reduce the number down to 3,000 people, use all the safety stuff. However, the state of Dallas, the state of Texas, and specifically we were going to be in Dallas, the governor shut that travel down. So here we are, so pumped, so excited to go to Tony Robbins, this huge event where people come from all over the world to transform their life. It's 4 days. Oprah's been there. I mean, so many people have been to this event. And I was excited and I was willing to take that risk, obviously being safe and obviously using my mask and all of those things and taking care of my health. But then that got canceled. So Tony Robbins, being the person that he is, he kind of knew. And his mindset and psychology is all around like, if I can't, then I must. If there's something I can't do, then I'm going to do it. I'm going to find a way. And he came, if you know his story, he came from a really crazy home life, bad situation. And he was able to turn his life around, and he owns like 57 companies or something like that. So he created this $4 million virtual platform. And all freaking weekend, I was on Zoom for 13 hours a day in my house, jumping up and down, yelling. And I don't know if you could tell, but like my voice has gone because I have been yelling, yes, 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 jumping up and down, sweating, because he's all about changing your state, changing your psychology, changing your focus. And this right here is kind of like you're getting a taste of this energy that I'm having coming off of this event called Unleash the Power Within. So I have my notebook here. I will teach a little bit from it, but I'm actually going to record a 4-part series. If you're interested in, just reach out to me. I'll be putting that up on my website and on my podcast, The Camy Kennedy Show on iTunes. I want to sit down and actually put all of that into play. But since this is the first time us getting to know each other, I wanted to give you a few pieces because obviously 2020, I teach vision boards, visioning, envision your life. What do you want it to be? I teach manifestation. Manifest, create it. And this environment that we're in right now, if we're just looking at our circumstances, can feel really challenging to look at our circumstances that are not in alignment with what we want and say, oh, I have the ability to influence this, or, oh, I'm going to focus on the good. So I want to bring you with some practical tools, which is why this show is called Breakdowns and Breakthroughs. One of the most annoying things for me, and I know for you personally too, if you're low energy, if you're down on energy, somebody like me coming in and being like, yay, everything's great. You're going to be like, shut the F up, right? It's just so annoying. And that's one of the first things that I wanted to address is triggers. Notice what triggers you, because there's a couple different perspectives on triggers. The first one is it's a reflection. So if I have somebody, I used to work in a lot of different industries in sales, and I'm a very, competitive type A person, driven, and, always thought I knew it all. And guess who would trigger me? Somebody who would show up and act like a know-it-all. And I would get so triggered by them because they just think they know everything, until finally I realized I am triggered because they have that quality that I'm judging in them, but that I also display as well, and I judge it in myself. So that's one of the first lessons about triggers is I'm being triggered for a reason. My emotional upheaval that's coming up because of this person, place, or thing is there for a purpose. So the first thing might be it's a mirror, it's a reflection. Maybe you're triggered because somebody's annoying and you're like, man, but I kind of act like that sometimes. Or maybe you find them annoying because they're the opposite of you. And then we can learn to grow in that area as well. And I like to use myself, and sometimes I'll use my clients with their permission as well for stories. But when I was still in the workforce and working a job, I liked to be in sales. I like to, work in fitness and get people to change their lives. And, I was tough on people because it's like, how long are you going to keep doing the same thing? Keep being 25 pounds overweight, and every year you say you're going to lose it, and every year you don't. Do you want to die like that? Like, I really got deep into the pain, and they would say, yes, like, I'm ready to change. It's different this time, right? So I would get people invested and enrolled in their health. Now, I have a degree in molecular cell biology. And so there was a time where I went into biomedical sales, and this was very different than my sales that I'm used to doing, which is face-to-face, sitting down, doing consultation, finding out what their goals are, finding out what their vision is, and then tying them into what their future is going to hold if they don't change, they stay the same. And then if they invest in themselves and make a move and move forward. And in this specific role, this biomedical sales role, it was all inside sales. And inside sales is very different. It is typing behind a computer, typing on an email. Like, it's not a lot of action. You don't get a lot of phone calls. It's just very much, and at least at this specific company, it was kind of boring for me. I just typed on a computer, answered a couple of emails, sent out a couple of emails, sent out a couple of quotes. And at the time, this is exactly what I needed, because a lot of times wherever our energy is, we want to do things that are fun and exciting, but then we don't sit down to actually do the things that need to get done. So that was one lesson. But the other lesson, as it regards to triggers, is there's a test out there called the color code test. And you can go online, thecolorcode.com, and find out your free color profile. But I really like this simplistic way of grouping people. And again, all of these tests are very, they're not perfect, right? We're going to have different colors and we're going to act one way or another depending on a situation. But it's nice to start understanding yourself and understanding others and how you relate to others and what triggers you. So I'll give you the 4 colors really quickly just to give you an idea. There's 4 colors, very simplistic. The color that I am is red. Red this is all based on what you're driven by, what you're motivated by. And reds are motivated by power. So typically they're going to be in a leadership role. They're going to want to win. They're going to be competitive. Like, that's kind of like their positive quality, which could turn negative very quickly. On their negative side, they're more so like, we're in it to win it. I don't care who I hurt on the way to the top. Like, let's do this, aggressive. And that can trigger some people. Okay. So I want you to put red in a box over here and just look at red. The next personality type is yellow. Yellow is totally motivated by fun. Fun. They're like the person who's the life of the party, like just going around like cocktail party, talking to everybody, just chatting it up, always wanting to have fun, talk. And they're just the life of the party. So they're going to bring a team together. They're going to be the ones that bring a family together. They are the people who really create that sense of community, cohesiveness, fun in an environment. On the flip side, one of their more negative qualities is they can get really quickly distracted easily by like squirrel, disorganized, just a lot going on because they don't want to do the things that aren't fun for them. So that's another type of person, a yellow personality type. And then we have the blue personality type. The blue personality is motivated by intimacy. So this would be somebody who's really caring. So like a nurse, they're typically in like the helping professions, social services. They are just bleeding hearts, just so open. And they want to have this intimate connection with people. And it's beautiful because they really want to serve people and they're coming from a beautiful heart-centered space. On the flip side of that, what tends to happen for blues is they become judgmental of others who maybe aren't as heart-centered as they are. So they get really judgmental, really hurt. A lot of times they tend to be empaths. So it's kind of hard to be in relationship because they're always feeling hurt until they learn, how to not put their expressions and their emotions out there so much that they're getting hurt all the time. So that's your blues. Your blues are motivated by intimacy. And then the last personality type is the whites. And this is the personality type in all my years in sales, all my years in leadership. I didn't interface with a lot of white personality types. And I was actually intimidated by them because I'm like, I don't know how to relate to this white personality type. We're so different. And let me describe this to you because maybe this is you. The white personality type is motivated by peace. So they're going to be like your Mahatma Gandhi, right? Your yogi, just like so peaceful. But your yogi that's more, they're not going to be the ones standing up for animal rights. They're going to be ones they're just like, everybody get along, and they may avoid things. So on that flip side of always wanting peace, they're not going to have those conversations with people, even though they might need to. They're not going to want to make decisions because we just want to make everybody happy. So those peacemakers was challenging for me. Because I'm like, let's get up, let's go, let's make a decision. And then there's this peacemaker over here. And of course, I put it out there into the universe and I said, one of my weaknesses is dealing with this white personality type. So I showed up. I was involved with all of these white personality types at this job. And thank you, Kira. And everybody, literally everybody except for 2 people at this workplace were this white personality type. So here's how it showed up in the workplace for me. I am a leader, right? Like I'm a leader. I want to get things done. I want to lead. Like, here's what I can do, blah, blah, blah. And I came into this position where I was so overqualified for it. I was so underpaid, so overqualified for it. What's beautiful about that is in the past, my ego would have just run the show like they're not respecting me. I'm so good at this job. And it would have really, and it has. I've been fired 3 times in the past 5 years. Okay. So this is a personal story of my growth. Number 1, to encourage you to understand that we can change no matter what. The level of pain has to be greater than the level of pain to change. So if we're in such of a pain state, I kept getting fired because of my personality, even though technically the red personality is a leadership type, and it could be. The dark side of that red personality type is aggressive, assertive, do it my way, disrespectful, right? So those are all the ways it was showing up in my life. And so I'm in this environment with all these white personality types, and I literally had to slow everything down about my personality, everything. Because I'm like, you don't even know me. And I'm talking fast. I wear bright colors. I use all these hand motions. And in this environment, I needed to morph in order to resonate with the people that I was influencing. So this is really interesting because I'm all about being your authentic self. Don't change yourself for anybody. And once we get into the later shows, you'll learn that I was in a 9-year relationship that I completely changed myself for. We'll get into that on another show. But there is a point where you want to be who you are. But within these 4 personality types, to be a well-rounded person, thank you, Kiva. Kiva says so fascinating. To be a well-rounded person, we want to start adopting these different colors, because if that's generally how the world operates, if we can start to borrow and operate out of these 4 colors and start to say, oh, in this moment, I'm going to be the peacemaker. In this moment, I'm going to be the fun one. In this moment, I'm going to be the heart-centered one, so that I can connect with all these different types of people. And so I really had to pause, think. I put above my desk, spread kindness, because the first thing I wanted to do was like shake these people, like make a freaking decision. They would be like, we're going to get a new photocopier. And I kid you not, they would have a meeting on it every single week for 4 months on whether or not to get the photocopier. And I was like shaking my head like, oh my gosh, what are we doing? What are we doing? But it was so interesting. And I needed that experience so that I could realize fast isn't always better, right? Those of you guys, if anybody is from the East Coast, especially the Northeast, please put your hand up, because I'm originally from Pennsylvania. We're fast talkers. If you're from New York, New Jersey, you're a fast talker, right? And I moved to California. I lived in California for 9 years. Now I live in North Carolina. So I've been all over the country, and the South is very slow, and they really value small talk. Hey, doll, how you doing? Right? They value talking before getting to the business point of it. And when I first moved here, I was so triggered by it. And I was even triggered by, people around here will call you hun or shug or doll or sweetie. And I remember moving here and I was at the gas station and this guy like walks over and says, hey, sweetie. And I was like, no, you didn't. I was like getting aggressive with him, but I realized he was just saying hello to everyone in that like sweet Southern charm way. So that's number 1. That first piece about triggers. I gave you a lot of different stories about what triggers are about, but it can be one of 2 things. Number 1, they're very unlike you, so they're triggering you, or they're very like you, so they're triggering you. So I like to use triggers as an investigation process. And this is easier said than done, especially on Facebook these days. I try not to spend any time on Facebook. I'll do my post and like mic drop and I run out. and I'll run my Facebook groups and then I'll dip out because there's so many triggering things on there. So it's a balance, right? Of exposing yourself to triggers, but also if you need to retreat from your triggers for a while so that you can lay that solid foundation of your own mindset, your own truth, then do what's right for you. So this is not about right or wrong. This is about being curious and just being like, this certain type of person always triggers me. It's here to teach me a lesson. So that's number 2. It's here to teach me a lesson. What is this here to teach me? And I'm going to go high level. I know this is my first show. I know you guys don't know me, but I'm not going to apologize for going high freaking level. So I'm going to go deep here. And if I lose you, just put it in the comments and I will take it back a little bit. But there is I went to a retreat in Bali 2 years ago that transformed my life. This is what I've really based a lot of the foundation of my life coaching structure around, is what we did in Bali back in 2018. And I went to this retreat because I was transitioning my business. I was a fitness and health coach for 10 years. And I really wanted to start diving into people's mindsets and not just nutrition and fitness. So I went to this retreat. The first thing is investing in yourself, saying yes to something that's already a huge thing, that's already a huge energetic experience that's going to bring you some self-worth, which again, we'll get to in another show. But I went to this retreat for 4 days, but I spent a total of 10 days in Bali. It was a big investment for me at that time. I didn't have the money, but as soon as I said yes, the money manifested. It created, it came, it showed up. Okay. So the power of decision is super, super powerful. Went to the event with the intention of getting all the marketing strategy, all the business strategy, everything I needed to transition my business from life coaching or from fitness into life coaching. That's what I'm thinking I'm getting. And we go in there, in day 1, we are doing this intimacy exercise. And just to give you an idea of who I've been over the years, playing sports, competitive, tomboy, aggressive, never cry. Like, I'm tough. I don't need anything. I'll do it myself, right? And I show up to this retreat and everybody is beautiful. Everybody's gorgeous. Everybody's successful. So already I've put myself in this upper echelon of people to where I don't feel like I'm the best anymore. In fact, I might be at the bottom compared to what a lot of these people had done. And we're there and it's beautiful outside in Bali. It's in Indonesia. It's freaking amazing. I highly recommend you go. Shoes are off. We're outside in the circle and our task is to stare deeply into each other's eyes. That's it. No talking, no smiling. And it was just looking into each other's souls just like this. Okay. And then we'd move and we'd look into somebody else's. And what was so hard for me is I had a mask on. We all have masks, right? So this is why we're talking about this trigger. What is this trigger teaching you or revealing in you? So in this situation, I wanted to be that happy, lighthearted person for people. So I'm sitting there like looking in their eyes and smiling and holding a smile. And I'm realizing by me holding this fake smile and by acting like everything is okay, I'm actually not allowing myself to be seen. And what we want more than anything in life, in relationships, the whole reason we do a lot of the things that we do is because we want to be seen and heard and loved. And this was my story too. That's why I push people away so much, because I, at my deepest core, just wanted to be loved. I didn't experience a lot of love in certain situations in my childhood. So I wanted to push people away before they could hurt me and disappoint me. And so in this experience, we're looking into each other's eyes. It's super freaking awkward. And I finally get to like 3, 4, 5, 5th person. And this beautiful soul, I'll never forget, she's still a friend now. She's a business partner now. We have a business together. She's in Bali and we have this frequency device if you're interested. But she's just the feminine embodiment of what like a mother energy would be, right? This is Mother Earth. So I remember finally, by the time I got to her, was like the 4th or 5th person. I looked at her, we looked at each other. We were just like connecting through our eyes, not saying anything. And I finally just allowed myself to be seen. I started crying. We hugged afterwards. And I was like, I just made a friend. We didn't say any words. We didn't know each other. We stared at each other's eyes for 3 minutes. And I don't recommend this if you're not at a retreat, because you're going to look like a creeper or a psycho. But in a controlled retreat setting where everybody is there for the same intention, which is growth, I want to get to my next level, and I'm willing to do weird ass stuff to get there, then it's appropriate and it's highly, highly effective. And I even want you to think of within your household, the people that you spend time with. How many times are you looking into their eyes? How many times are you actually connecting with them in that way without a screen being in front of you? I know for me, I connect with my dogs every single morning, every single night. I look at them in the eyes. I look at my cats. So it's easy for us to do with the animals a lot of times because they're not judging us. But it's more powerful for us to be intimate with that person so that we can give and receive love and allow that free flow and exchange. So my second point is all about, what is it here to teach us? What lesson is it here to teach us? What is that trigger showing up for us? And also in that circle, I had broken up with this guy I was with for 9 years, and I had been like trying to break up with him for 4 years. And it took me 4 years to freaking break up with him. Let me just say that. I hired a life coach. I finally made the move because he was holding me back in so many ways. And I was holding myself back and allowing myself to be held back. But at this retreat, I was also healing a lot of my relationship energies. So I remember standing across from this guy, super attractive, fully tattooed up, like shaved head, kind of like if you would imagine like the guy you wanted to be with, or like physically how he looked, that's the one, right? Like God put that one there for me to have this experience with. And we looked into each other's eyes, and it was freaking awkward. And I realized this is how a relationship's supposed to be, though. And I had not been doing that with the guy I was with for 9 years. So it showed me, and it solidified that intimacy became my top value. And intimacy is not physical. It's not physical touching, sexual intimacy. It's into me, I see. Understanding ourselves, opening ourselves up, and then having intimacy with others, with loved ones, showing who we really are at our core. Okay. So that's number 2 for the triggers. What is it revealing? And I could go on for days for my own personality situations, let's say, that have been exposed to me from my own triggers. And I'm still working through my own triggers, and they're there for a reason. So instead of ignoring it, pushing it away, allowing you to actually be run by the trigger, remember that trigger is your mind. It's your ego. It's not your true inner self, your soul. And most of us are walking around. I was doing it too. And there are moments where I'm still run by my mind. But now I've learned techniques and strategies to get back into my heart. If you would have seen me 5 years ago, 10 years ago, you'd be like, what the F? Different person, completely different. So number 2 is, what does it want to teach in us? Now, number 3, here's the exciting one. Here's the one that I really want you to receive. So if you're watching this and you've tuned out, or you're pay attention to this one, because this one is, I really want you to receive it, take it in, and say, yes, this is for me. So the last one is these triggers of something somebody has, a relationship, how their body looks, whatever. It's triggering you because it's meant for you. Okay, this is cool. I really like this thought. I really like this belief, because by adopting this belief, and remember, we can change our thoughts. We can choose to think any thoughts, but it's just like training our muscles and fitness. It does take time. It does take strategy, and it does take implementation. And if you want to know more about it, reach out to me, shoot me an email, Camy@CamyKennedy.com. I have a full-on program that we could do this through. But if you are triggered because somebody has something, it's because it's for you. And again, it's because I like to think of time traveling. Okay, I'm going to use this as an example, time traveling. I just, during this past weekend with Tony Robbins, I was bawling my eyes out again, because now I cry a lot. I cry a lot more freely than I ever did for my previous 30 years. And I was thinking about myself 11 years ago, 10 years ago, 9 years ago. It was 2012, 2011. I was living in the beach, California, a mile from the beach, had amazing roommates, but I was in this relationship that wasn't fulfilling. I was in this job. I was working night shift in a laboratory, cutting up human body parts. So I just want you to imagine like a Frankenstein action. And the chemicals that were used to store the body parts. So I might get a foot, I might get a tissue, I might get an organ, and I had to cut a little piece off of it so that the pathologist could test it. And the chemicals that surrounded the tissue is known as formaldehyde, which is a highly toxic reproductive toxin. And I was always breathing this in. And I remember being over this pathological waste bin at one point, throwing away body parts, tissues, organs, gallbladders, fatty tissue. And I had to separate off the formaldehyde from the fatty tissue, from the tissue. And I had to put them in different waste streams. And I can still remember it was dark, dungy. I'm wearing my mask. I'm there by myself, just like Frankenstein jars of stuff over on the side I needed to dump. You can hear the radio playing, like kind of crackling in the background. It's Christmas time. So there's a Christmas song on. And I'm just sitting there like trying to get in the Christmas spirit, like crying. And at that time, I don't think I cried really. This is like 10 years ago, but I was very sad, let's say, very sad, feeling very depressed. And I was thinking, God, I know that there is more to life than this. There is more. I know there's more than this. And I was thinking that in that moment, and for 10 hours a day, I'd be in that laboratory and I would have to just fight for every single thought because I wasn't getting sleep, right? My sleep pattern was off. I wasn't getting sun. So I'm pretty sure chemically I was falling into a state of depression, and just the way my lifestyle was, I wasn't fulfilled. I wasn't happy at all. But I was trying so hard to focus on gratitude and what I could be grateful for. I lived on the beach. You know, it was so good. I lived in California. I was making pretty good money, had a secure job, like was with this guy who was very attractive. So it seemed like I had what I wanted, but I was not fulfilled because I wasn't living in my values. And I also remember picking up my first personal development book, which was The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale, and being embarrassed about it because I didn't want my boyfriend at the time to think that there was something wrong with me. And I would hide it, even though I'd like write notes in it and highlight it, but I would hide it so he wouldn't see it. And I remember even still with all of that effort that I was going through to really change my life and change my mindset, I would go to bed at night. And I remember specifically one time, I remember my comforter was purple. I remember my curtains were brown. I had this like rattan headboard. Had a beautiful room again. But I remember I just had to fight for every minute. And I remember going to sleep at night and just thinking, it's okay if I don't wake up tomorrow. Like, this life, what is this life? Like, this is not what I thought it would be. And so the reason why that makes me emotional now is because I know there's people out there like that right now. It may be you, it may be somebody you know. So if there is, please share this with them, because my mission is to help people transform their life by transforming their mindset. And the only reason I'm here where I am today is because I was I knew, and I remember getting this download in the shower. It's not happy when, it's happy now. And I was like, F you. Like, no, I'm not happy. These are all the things I don't have. But now I know it's what we focus on that creates our happiness. It's not what we have. It's who we are that creates that happiness. And then who we become creates more opportunity because we have the right mindset. And then opportunities, relationships starts to flow to us. Money starts to flow to us. But if all we can focus on is the negative and all we can focus on is this isn't working out for me, there's no way. I got to tell you, this is powerful because I listened to a podcast of a Holocaust survivor. Her name is Ruth Schindler. She wrote the book, called The Two Survivors. And her whole family, unfortunately, was killed, was gassed in the Holocaust. And she talks, she was interviewed and they asked, what got you through that moment? And she said, we had to have hope. We had to have hope somehow, some way, that this was going to stop eventually. So I want to bring you this hope right now that whatever's going on for you in 2020, whatever's going on for you in this moment right now, this too shall pass. That hope for the future, that vision of a future, even if you're standing over a bucket of nasty human body parts, thinking beyond that, thinking beyond what your life could actually be, and then taking the steps each and every day, 1%, to be able to achieve that and get there and receive that. And the point I want to make with number 3 is that it triggers you because it's for you. That's me in my past, okay? That's me 10, 12 years ago. Me about 5 years ago, got fired. I know a lot of people are in this situation right now. That was the first time I got fired in 3 years. So like now I'm on my 3rd round, but got fired. And this was it was because of my attitude. And at the time I did not want to take personal responsibility for it because it hurts, right? When we think that we're wrong, when we set up this identity that we're right, and turns out that we're actually not doing right and we're not as cool as we think we are. That was me, 2015. Now, what I did know in that moment, I believe in a creator, I believe in God, and I knew that God had my back. And I also knew that I needed that lesson, that pain of, I was a great salesperson. I was great at my job, but I had a bad attitude. I always focused on the negative. I wasn't grateful. I always wanted more. I always had all these expectations of entitlement of what I deserved. And interestingly, I had 2 opportunities come by. One of them was to start a network marketing business, which I did. I said yes to. I invested in that. The other one was to hire a business coach. I said yes to that with no job. So started a fitness business, started a nutrition business in 2015, and set a high goal of wanting to make $1 million in a year, which is ridiculous. I don't recommend setting that as a goal when you don't have the skill set yet. However, again, all of this has been for me because it has required me to step up, to learn, to grow. Fast forward to 2018, I shut that fitness business down. And I want to say it was successful because I did serve a lot of people, but it wasn't successful to the place where it was sustaining me, where it was allowing me to do the things I wanted to do with my life, allowing me to travel, allowing me to invest, allowing me to visit family. So I shut that business down in 2018. And again, there was another identity shift of I'm leaving behind this fitness thing who had always been who I was. I didn't tell you this part of my story, but in 2009, I was obsessed with fitness, wanted to be a fitness competitor, wanted to be a fitness model. I ended up getting into the fitness industry. I ended up being one of those girls that's at the booth who's, all cute and has her hair and she's talking, and talking about, oh, here, buy this. I ended up being published in a magazine, Oxygen magazine. All my dreams came true in the fitness world, yet I still wasn't fulfilled because inside me, my now self, which back then was my future self, my now self, I want you to think of this like a sci-fi. Right now, go back to yourself 10 years ago. And I want you to think of 3 things that have happened that you wouldn't be where you are now if they hadn't have happened. Maybe they weren't necessarily good. Maybe it was a breakup. Maybe it was getting fired. Maybe it was moving from a place and you didn't know anybody and you had to move. But I want you to start to see that everything is actually working for us when we choose to look for it. What we focus on is what we find. So if I want to look at everything that's going wrong, I'm going to see everything that's wrong around me. If I want to look at what's going right, then I'm going to have a different perspective. So I want to give you an example too. So I just started becoming a plant lady this year. So you can see my plants. I'm like actually really excited that they're in the background here. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a plant lady. And it started with me creating a plant lady Pinterest board. Like, oh, this is what I'm going to be like when I know how to keep plants alive, right? Because my story for so many years is like, I can't keep plants. I always kill them. And that was my truth because I kept saying it out loud. I kept affirming it. And then because I believed it, because I kept affirming it, when I'd get a plant, guess what would happen? I'd kill it. And then I would have evidence to say, yep, see, I'm not a plant lady. I can't do this. So what in your life are you affirming that you can't do? I don't have an education. I can never make this amount of money. I could never be with this type of person as a partner. You know, they would never like me. The more we affirm it, the more it becomes real, and the more we find evidence for it. So I was just thinking of this. Once I decided to become a plant person, somebody gifted me some plants because I told them, I said, listen, in my past, I had not been able to keep plants alive. So do you want to just give me a plant cutting? That way, if it dies, it's not like we're not spending a lot of money and like hurting a lot of plants. So a coworker, again, at this place, this job I talked about where I was working with all those white personality types, she gifted me some plant cuttings. And listen, it was the simplest plant in the world, but I'm still going to give myself credit for it. And all it was water. So it was just like plant cutting and water. But I was convinced that I was now a plant lady. And this one right behind me on this side, she actually gave and gifted me whenever I left that job as well. And so I give her credit for believing in me, instilling this positive energy in me to say that, yes, you can do it. Let me show you how. And she gave me that. She gave me that confidence. So I want to say a few things with that. Number one is who you surround yourself with matters. So this may be a time in a season where it's time to shift gears, change peer groups. I do have a Facebook group. You can come and get involved in it. It's called Powerful Potential on Facebook. Come in that. It's for women only. It's freaking phenomenal because it's all powerhouse women who maybe are perfectionists a little bit, have a lot of self-judgment right now. But the more you show up, the more you affirm yourself, the more you celebrate, the more you affirm your potential, which is in the future, right? Which is already inside you. And we just need to unlock it through cultivating and nurturing. So now here's what happens when you start to say, yes, I am worth it. I know that something out there is better. Like I know there's something better for me out there. I don't know how, I don't know when, I don't even know the path. But for me, a friend told me about a plant app. And again, I'm not affiliated with them, but if you want to check them out, it's called Planta. It's like $35 a year. I attracted the resources to make me a really good plant lady. So now I think I have like 30 plants and I've only lost 3. So my point is I could focus on those 3 plants that died. One of them got like bugs on it. The other one, I don't remember what happened with the other one. Oh, the other one just died because it was its life cycle. Like it was its life cycle. It's just time to die. It's one of those that lives for 2 years and it dies. So I think I only lost 2 plants maybe. But if I only focused on those 2 plants, can you imagine? Every day I would just feel like a bad plant lady, like a failure. Meanwhile, I have 30 plants around me. So I want you to start to focus on what is it that is going well. Like I have breath in my lungs. I know that sounds so cliche. And in the beginning, this is what I had to do. And I'll tell you this even, because when I first started coaching women, I started coaching around body image because I struggled so much with body image. And I thought I was so fat. But I knew when I understood the purpose of affirming and recognizing what was good about me. And at the time, the only thing I could think on me was not fat, was my wrists. So I would lay down and like have gratitude for like my lungs, like my organs, because at least I didn't have hatred for my organs as much as I did for my external body. So I'd be like, I love you, liver. I love you, heart. Thank you. Thank you for pumping. And it sounds so freaking weird. And it may be. But here's the thing. I would rather be weird and fulfilled and happy than miserable, depressed, and like really cool by the outside standards, right? So that's just how I've lived my life, is like, I'm going to be weird and do weird things so that I can be fulfilled and live to my highest potential. And that's what I do with my clients as well. So this last piece is thinking about your past, your present, and then your future, your potential self. So the reason you may be triggered by some of these things is because it's actually for you. So they might have the house, the husband, the car that you want, and your potential self from the future is going, hey, it's for you. Listen up. And the pain is there, the pain and the desire, right? Where you're just like, I want that and I don't have it. That pain is there to say, wake up. You've got to change something. Everybody wants everything, right? They want to win the lottery. But if you don't change who you are fundamentally, win the lottery all you want, studies show within 2 years, they've lost it all. And they're back down to their same level of poverty that they were before they won the lottery. So the first step is to change the inside, what we focus on, who we be, who we're becoming. And then that attracts the relationship, the financial freedom, the abundance, the opportunities, the coincidences, right? The resources. So that trigger of pain, of disconnect, of wanting the thing is you can choose to believe this, is there to tell you that it is for you. And it's just time for you to start investigating, okay, if that's for me, I need to start believing it's for me. And then I need to start taking the actions of what that would look like. You know, I was just asking about my friends to help me with some plants. Now I have 30 plants. Be careful what you ask for because you'll get it. You'll get a lot of it. You'll get it in abundance. So I want to wrap this up. I can't believe I've already been talking for an hour. This is so great. I'm like off an energetic high from Tony Robbins this weekend. But I want to leave you with what I believe the biggest breakdown of 2020 has been. And we could all argue for hours on what the biggest impact of 2020 has been. Okay, there's lots of things to choose. But what I believe the biggest breakdown has been during this time is becoming disconnected from ourselves and disconnected from others, even in our own homes. And I hope that during this time of challenge, tribulation, potentially some real loss. I don't want to discount anybody's loss, but real loss of a person you may have lost, of a job, a career path, a lot of things. But this is a quote from Tony Robbins. In life, pain is guaranteed, but suffering is a choice. We can choose to suffer around that situation and scenario by choosing to focus on fear, pain, loss. I'm never going to have it. Or you can say, how is this happening for me? Am I even open to asking that question? And at first, the answer is going to be no. It's going to feel hard because you're so ingrained in going down the same path of this is happening to me. Everything's happening to me. The problem with everything happening to us, there's a problem and there's a benefit. I'll tell you this. The problem is, if it's happening to us, then we're powerless to change it. And if we're powerless to change it, then nothing will change, right? If we feel like we have no personal power and ability to change it, then our circumstances will absolutely stay the same. Now, here's the benefit and the payoff that we get from saying it's happening to me. If it is happening to me, the benefit is I don't have to take any personal responsibility for my life. I don't have to take any actions that are maybe uncomfortable outside my comfort zone. I don't have to admit somewhere in my life where maybe it was going down a path that wasn't working for me or for others. And so staying the same, although it's painful, a lot of times people choose to stay because it's comfortable and they don't have to take that next step into potentially literally limitless possibilities of abundance, happiness, wealth, freedom, passionate relationships, because that requires a shift in energy. That requires a shift in thought, a shift in change. So explore that. You know, if there's been something you've been wanting to change for quite a long time, ask yourself, what are you getting from it? And I'll use a quick example of myself. procrastination a lot of times goes right in line with being a perfectionist. And I call myself a recovering perfectionist, and I work with mostly high achievers and recovering perfectionists. I work mostly with women in my Powerhouse on Purpose Academy, which you can check out if you go to powerhouseonpurpose.com. And I also coach men one-on-one on relationships. But procrastination is a big one. And a lot of times people will tell a story on, if I'll just wait to the last minute because I'm more creative at the last minute, or I work best under pressure. Even though the whole time they may be overeating, they may be drinking too much because they're trying to deal with this anxiety because of the thing that they're not doing. And I had a coach say to me one time, the reason why perfectionists specifically, and maybe you if you're struggling with procrastination, the reason why we don't take the action to do the thing, to follow through on the thing that we say we want to have, is because we don't actually think that we're worthy of the outcome of having the thing that we really freaking want. We really want the relationship. We really want the car, the house, whatever. But we don't want to follow through because do we think we actually deserve it? That is another powerful question to ask yourself. And the payoff for me in being a perfectionist and procrastinating was I don't have to put myself out there. If I just don't do it, then cool. I won't have any comments. I won't have any judgments. I just won't have to do it. And it'll be very comfortable because the couch is a very comfortable place to be, right? And the couch is also where a lot of the haters live. So what's interesting is I want to be in an elevated place so that I can serve others and help them rise up. But if you only want to be on the couch and you're not willing to take that energy to get up off the couch, then you're going to continue to be in that place of judgment, of allowing those triggers to run our lives. And every time we're commenting. And before you know it, your whole life has passed by. And what have you had to show for it? A bunch of comments on Facebook, but not an impact. So I don't know if that resonates with you, but I do work with a lot of people who have a side business or they're wanting to get into coaching. I do have a coaching certification as well. So, or you have kids, you have somebody that you want to impact in your life, or you just want to be a good person. And I know that by me showing up and sharing these things are not my things, right? I've been educated by top leaders in the industry, gone to all these places and been trained by amazing coaches. And I feel that if I don't share it, if I don't show up and share the breakdowns and the breakthroughs, then I'm not doing my part on this planet. I'm not sharing what's come through me, through my perception, to a platform where somebody needs to hear it from me. And what that means is I'm going to get uncomfortable. I'm going to stream live on 4 different platforms at the same time. I'm going to show up in front of people that I don't know. I'm going to obviously have haters. 10% of people are not going to like you. And the more impact you create, the more you step into your purpose and who you're being, the more people are going to love you because you're being your true authentic self. They're going to connect with you. But the more people are going to hate because of their own triggers. So my last point to you is we work through all of our own triggers, but also know and understand that anytime anybody's coming against us, it is their own triggers that are happening. And we can just bless and release. And I choose to have the thought of not everyone is going to like me, but those who are meant to work with me are going to love me. And they're going to feel so freaking connected because of my courage to show up and be real, raw, and authentic to share my story. And that is my commitment, is to serve those who are ready to be served, to serve those who are ready to step up in their own life and to change their mindset and to transform their life. So I want to leave you with just this today. If there's anything here that resonated with you, please reach out to me. Let me know. This is a new platform for me. So I'm really excited to be here. I think it's going to be really fun. Share this. I gave so much today. I don't know if it was too much, but let me know. And reach out to me. Connect with me on Instagram at Camy Kennedy, my Facebook group. And like I said, next week, I'm opening up a course called Comeback Queen. It's technically not a course. It's a coaching program, but it is 4 weeks long. It's called Comeback Queen. So if you are a female, if you are ready to get this, like if you're in it to win it 2020, if you're to say, hey, things have happened in 2020, but I'm not willing to let that be my story of this year. We still got freaking a whole 6 months left. Imagine what we can do in 6 months. It excites me to think of the things I've seen my clients do in 3 months, in 2 months, in 2 weeks. So reach out to me for the Comeback Queen. It's part of my Powerhouse on Purpose Academy, the powerhouseonpurpose.com. You can check that out. It's a 6-month-long academy, and we go through health, wealth, love, finances, relationships, spirituality. We go through it all so that you can go up level, right? And you know, one of my coaches, Tony Robbins, says to live your life at a level 10. But because I am a recovering perfectionist, I actually have a tattoo of a 9. Because I'm like, you know what? It's okay to be at a 9, and I'm going to go for 9s. I'm going to shoot for 9s. I'm going to shoot for 9s because I know that I'll keep growing, and I know you'll keep growing. And I don't want you to think of being perfect, but it's about practicing your potential. It's about practicing being that person a couple years down the road, 3 months down the road, who has the things that you want, and then operating from that mentality of, well, what would they do? What would they do? How would they act? What would they say? What would they wear? My potential self loves these colors. So guess what I did? I got a full new wardrobe of all of my colors. I love purples. I love pinks. I love yellows, solids, blocks. As soon as I did that, it shifted my energy and allowed me to step up. I've also dyed my hair pink. So do something in your physical world to remind you of who you're becoming. You don't need to get tattoos, although I did get another one that says renewed after Bali, but do something in your physical space as a reminder of who you are becoming each and every day. And then reward yourself for showing up, for doing the do, and know that you will have breakdowns and invite them, because guess what? On the other side of breakdown is breakthrough. Beautiful. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. I look forward to connecting with you on the gram. Bye, guys.